Welcome to the age of experts. We live in the golden age of experts. Everyone's an authority. Everyone's certified. Everyone's got letters after their name and a podcast mic in front of their mouth. And somehow, miraculously, with more information than any generation in human history, we're more confused than ever. Isn't that strange? You'd think with all this wisdom, we'd be doing great. But instead, we're anxious, medicated, divided, and arguing with strangers online about things nobody was confused about 50 years ago. So maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't a lack of intelligence. Maybe it's an overdose of pride.
Rock solid TV won't bend and we don't break. Rock solid TV never plays it safe. Building on the rock in these last days. Unfiltered truth, unshakable faith.
The verse that ruins the room. 1 Corinthians 1, verse 27, KJV, "But God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, and God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty." That verse doesn't whisper. It doesn't apologize. It doesn't come with a footnote explaining how it doesn't really mean what it says. God chose the foolish on purpose, which is awkward because modern Christianity has built an entire brand around not being that. What the world means by wise. Let's define terms. When the world says wise, it means credentialed, approved, well-spoken, non-threatening, institutionally endorsed, safe for advertisers. In other words, someone who will never flip a table. And when the world says foolish, it means unschooled, unpolished, blunt, uncomfortable, immune to social pressure, willing to be hated. Funny how that lines up with scripture. A brief tour of God's hiring decisions. Let's review God's resume choices, shall we? Noah, a man yelling about rain to people who had never seen rain for decades while building a boat nowhere near water. But yes, tell me more about how you'd have handled it better. Moses couldn't speak well, didn't want the job, argued with God repeatedly. Naturally, God ignored the confident speakers and chose him. David, a teenager, a shepherd, didn't even get invited to the prophet's first meeting. Meanwhile, his tall, handsome brothers were ready for LinkedIn endorsements. The prophet's homeless, hated, ignored, killed. Truly the influencer class of their day. The disciples fishermen, tax collectors, blue-collar nobodies, not one seminary degree among them. Jesus born in the wrong town, from the wrong family, no political backing, no academic credentials, and yet he managed to offend every expert he spoke to. Why the wise always miss it. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Wisdom, when mixed with pride, becomes fragile. The wise have too much to lose. Their reputation, their position, their income, their donors, their speaking invitations. So when truth threatens the structure they benefit from, they don't evaluate it. They discredit the messenger. Because it's much easier to say, who does this guy think he is, than to ask, what if he's right? Foolishness, God's favorite crowbar. God doesn't use fools because they're impressive. He uses them because they're free. Free from image management, institutional fear, career consequences, the need to be liked. A fool will say what everyone else is thinking while the wise are still checking the room. And that's exactly why God uses them. Because truth doesn't need polish. It needs courage. The modern church problem. Let's talk church for a moment. Modern churches love wisdom. They love smooth sermons, carefully worded statements, safe interpretations, messages that never cost anyone anything. What they don't love? Prophets. Prophets make donors nervous. Prophets don't build bridges. Prophets don't attend strategy meetings. Prophets show up, say the wrong thing, and leave chaos behind, which is why they get labeled divisive. Funny, Jesus got that label too. Why intelligence isn't the problem. The Bible never condemns knowledge. It condemns arrogance. The Pharisees knew scripture, they just didn't know God. Rome knew power, they just didn't know truth. Education without obedience doesn't make you wise, it just makes you confident while being wrong. Why God still does this today. God hasn't changed his playbook. He still bypasses institutions. He still ignores credentials. He still speaks through people who don't sound right. And every generation reacts the same way. That's not how truth is supposed to sound. Exactly. That's the point. Why you get mocked. If you've ever been laughed at for quoting scripture, if you've been told you're too blunt, too intense, too much, good news. You're not broken. You're just not useful to the system. The world doesn't mock lies, it rewards them. It mocks truth when truth comes from the wrong mouth. Important clarification before someone misuses this. Let's pause before someone says, well, I'm foolish, so God must be using me. Slow down. Biblical foolishness is not ignorance, it's fearlessness. It's obedience without applause. It's truth without spin. It's humility without insecurity. There's a difference between being foolish for God and being foolish because you refuse to learn. God uses the humble, not the lazy. The real reason God does this. Here's the core reason. So no one can take credit. Not denominations, not scholars, not platforms. When truth comes from a nobody, everyone knows it didn't originate there. It points upward, every time. The final problem. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Most people don't reject truth because it's false. They reject it because it embarrassed them, because it came from someone they were taught to dismiss. And God, being God, knows that, so he keeps doing it. So here's the real test. When truth shows up without credentials, without polish, without your preferred tone, will you listen, or will you do what every generation does? Mock the messenger, protect the system, and call wisdom foolish just before missing God entirely. Before we wrap up, I want to let you know I just released a new study resource called Rock Solid Bible Knowledge. It's a focused Bible knowledge book with 150 questions drawn entirely from the King James Version, built for people who want more than surface level familiarity with Scripture. It's available now at a pay whatever you want price. Take it for free if you need to, or support the work if you're able. The link is in the description, or you can go to rocksolidtv.com and find it there as well. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate you.